All right, so now we're going to go over some examples of how to solve these using inverse operations. And I'm going to be talking through it and also questions about to help you through this. So for the first example, d plus 1 equals 5. You can probably look at this and tell me the answer. That's not what I want. What I want you to do is identify, right? I need to get d by itself. The plus 1 is in the way. The opposite of plus 1 is subtracting 1. So I subtract 1 on both sides to keep it balanced, right? 5 minus 1 is 4, so my answer is d equals 4. Second example, x plus 11 equals 3. I want to get x by itself. Plus 11 is in the way. I need to use inverse operations to isolate my variable. The inverse of plus 11 is minus 11. So what I do to one side, I do have to do to the other to keep it balanced. All right, my 11s cancel out and I'm left with x. 3 minus 11 is negative 8. C plus 4 equals 5. I need to get c by itself. Plus 4 is in the way. I need to use inverse operations to isolate my variable. The inverse of plus 4 is minus 4. So what I do to one side, I have to do to the other to keep it balanced. 5 minus 4 is 1, and I'm left with c on the left. So c equals 1. All right, next example, I'm trying to get b by itself. Minus 12 is in the way. I need to use inverse operations to isolate my variable. The opposite of minus 12 is plus 12. What I do to one side, I must do to the other to keep it balanced. 49 plus 12 is 61, and I'm left with b on the left side, so it's b equals 61. Z minus 5 equals 12. I'm trying to get z by itself. Minus 5 is in the way. The opposite of minus 5 is plus 5, so I'm going to add 5 to both sides. Because addition is the inverse of subtraction, I move the 5 because I'm trying to get z, the variable z by itself. And what I do to one side, I have to do to the other to keep it balanced. I'm left with z on the left side, and 12 plus 5 is 17. Okay. P minus 30 equals 42. Again, I'm trying to solve for P. So I'm trying to figure out what P is. In order to isolate my variable, I use inverse operations. The opposite of negative 30 is a positive 40. So I'm going to add 30 to both sides. Again, to isolate the variable and use inverse operations, you have to keep it balanced. So what you do to one side, you must do to the other. 42 plus 30 is 72. Sometimes equations are going to be written in different ways, but the steps we take to solve them are exactly the same. All right, so here we have 11 equals t plus 2. I'm still trying to get my variable t by itself. Plus 2 is in the way of that happening, so I'm going to use inverse operations, and I'm going to subtract 2 from 2 and 11 to keep it balanced. 11 minus 2 is 9, so 9 equals t. Same thing with the next equation, 17 equals y plus 6. I'm still trying to get y by itself, so that plus 6 is in the way of y being isolated. So using inverse operations, the opposite of plus 6 is minus 6, so I have to subtract 6 from both sides. 17 minus 6 is 11. And again, if we have 8 equals m plus 8, the plus 8 on the right side, right here, this is the one that's preventing m from being alone and by itself. So this is the one we need to get rid of. The opposite of a plus 8 is minus 8. So using inverse operations, we subtract 8 from both sides. 8 minus 8 is 0. Okay. Next example, 22 equals c minus 12. Again, we're trying to get the variable c by itself. That minus 12 is preventing that from happening. So we use inverse operations to isolate the variable c. The inverse of minus 12 is plus 12, so we add 12 to both sides to keep it balanced. 22 plus 12 is 34. 21 equals r minus 5. Again, we're trying to get r by itself. Minus 5 is in the way of that happening. So we use inverse operations. The opposite of minus 5 is plus side. What you do to one side, you do to the other to keep it balanced. 21 plus 5 is 26. The last equation, again, y needs to be by itself. Minus 16 is in the way. So the inverse operations, we're going to add 16 to both sides. We get 116. Something I want to point out, though, when you're simplifying this, it's top to bottom. So 11 minus 2, 17 minus 6, 8 minus 8, 100 plus 16, 21 plus 5, 22 plus 12. If you go bottom to top, especially with subtraction, you're going to end up with the incorrect answer. Make sure you're simplifying your final answers top to bottom. Okay, just as a reminder, whenever you have a variable that doesn't have a visible coefficient, which is the number in front of the variable, it's understood that it has a coefficient of 1. So for this, we just need to rewrite it so that we can see the coefficient. So instead of x, it's 1x. Instead of y minus 4, it's 1y minus 4 equals 4. Instead of x equals negative 14, it's 1x equals negative 14. Instead of t divided by 4, it's 1t divided by 4. Okay, that's just a little thing to help you remember that it has a coefficient of 1.